What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tar Heel 24/7. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones and AJ. We're here to talk a little Carolina basketball today, and in particular, Carolina's new big man, Henri Veesaar. We're going to be talking a little bit about his game, what Carolina's getting with him, and what how we think he might potentially fit in with North Carolina this season. Just to provide a little bit of backstory, I want to let everybody know kind of what we're rolling out and how we're going to be structuring some of these moving forward. But we have essentially, in terms of previewing the season, every week starting this week, is going to be focused on one player. So this week is Henri Veesaar week. So on Monday, you get a feature story on him. If you haven't seen that already, go check it out on our website. Then you get 6 best games on Wednesday. And then on Friday, when this pod comes out like this one, we're going to be doing a little bit of a podcast on that particular player. And again, kind of talking about what he is, what we kind of expect from him this season, how he could impact Carolina when the season starts. So that's going to be the structure moving forward. Again, this is the first week of it. This starts with Henri Veesaar. Make sure you go check out those articles if you haven't already. You can click the link in our description. It'll take you right over to our website to go look at that. So I always like doing these. I think it's fun. I always like previewing it. You get a little bit closer to basketball season. I know we're still a few months away from it officially starting, but basketball season's not too far away when we start rolling these kind of podcast and content items out. So yeah, man, It's exciting. I'm looking forward to chatting about Henri Veesaar a little bit in this one.
Well, typically we would do these a little bit earlier in the off season, in the spring, summer, launch it late May, early June. We pushed it back this year because of the transition, obviously.
Yep.
And I didn't want to use it on the previous side. I thought, well, you know what? Let's wait a little bit longer and see how it goes, and launch this part of the series in August. So we're concluding Henri Veesaar week. Next week I believe we're doing Seth Trimble next week, and we'll just keep it rolling through the year or through the preseason. At some point, once we start talking to the guys about this year, we'll have a lot of stuff on this year. So that'll be a lot of fun too. But lots of basketball content. A player gets his own week, and the 6 games is the 6 best games from last year and what it might mean.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk. I want to throw. And one of the things we'll do in each of these pods, I'd like to use some of those games to sort of go a little bit more into it and do it here.
Yeah.
Discuss some of that stuff. And I've got some pretty cool numbers up here that Carolina fans will be interested in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's start with kind of what Carolina's getting with Henri Veesaar, and obviously most of this is going to be based on his seasons at Arizona. And it's funny because I went back and watched some more highlights of him before this podcast, and I've already seen a lot of stuff because we've talked about him in a previous podcast before months ago when he committed, and throughout the summer as well. But he's just such an intriguing player, and he's someone we've been very high on. I'm still of the belief that he's the best transfer Carolina brought in, at least on paper. I think he's the transfer that I think could and more than likely will have the biggest impact on this team. I just love what he brings, and I love the intangibles that he has, and also the production that he's already had in college, especially, again, like I said, at Arizona. And there's so many ways we could start with this, but I'll go ahead and list a few things that jump out at me when I watch him. I think obviously the height, the size that he has, and not only that, but the motor and energy that he plays with. He's also a guy that can get up and down on the court. You'll go watch some Arizona highlights and see him. I mean, there was one highlight in particular where he grabs a rebound and dribbles a few times, almost starts the break for Arizona. I think he ended up finishing in transition with it. So the athleticism with that size and height, I think, is something that is super, super interesting, and I think will translate well to North Carolina. But AJ, too, I want to start with this. He's an efficient scorer, man. I mean, over 59% from the floor in his 24-25 season, his first year at Arizona, and shot nearly 62% last season. That's one thing in particular that jumps out at me, because I think that's what Carolina needs, and I think that's one area he can shine in. Not to mention his ability to step out and stretch the floor and hit some threes in particular. Didn't shoot the highest clip at Arizona from three-point land, but for a big, in his second season, I think he attempted about 49 threes, hit about 32% of them. You'd hope that would improve at Carolina, but you see that is a part of his game that I think translates well to what Hubert Davis wants to do at North Carolina. So when you watch Veesaar, I know there's some of those things, there'll be some overlap, but what jumps out to you in particular, maybe the most about his game? And again, I'm sure some of it's probably a few things that I listed there too.
Yeah, you don't just have to guard him. Opponents have to defend him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more of the floor. There's more stuff he can do. You constantly have to be aware. And being aware of a guy who's lower block oriented, while it could be a player could be a tremendous challenge, he doesn't challenge your awareness that much. But a guy like Veesaar is going to challenge awareness a little bit more. And because he moves a lot, he can set a high ball screen and roll. He's going to create some advantageous situations for himself by getting a smaller defender on him. Mm-hmm. And I think when a big man can move like him, and when you can play the ball off him like that, I think you can really work some of those advantages in your favor. That's one of the things that I see with him, and trying to look at what Hubert might want to do, and then the kind of guys he's going to surround around him. You're going to see a lot of lower block stuff. I think you should. I think Henri Veesaar's got enough of a body, and looks to me like if he works a lot at the lower block footwork, he should be able to have pretty good footwork to create advantages for himself to score and draw fouls. Now, there's a lot to his game, though. I don't know how much of the perimeter stuff we'll see, but it's not going to go away. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a part of his game. And I'm going to roll off 5 quick games here and give you guys an example of what you said, Jacob, about scoring. He's shown he can score in bunches. Mm-hmm. So these might be games either he was just on, maybe they're games where he created a lot or found himself in a lot of advantageous situations with who was defending him after a switch or something. Or it just shows you that he punched up to the ceiling every once in a while, just didn't stay there quickly. Against Arizona State, rival, 23 points in 23 minutes, 2 for 5 from 3. So I'm going to note the threes in each one of these games. Against Baylor, 19 points in 19 minutes, 1 for 2 from 3. Against Kansas, 19 points in 30 minutes, 7 for 11 from the floor, 2 for 3 from 3. Against BYU, 17 points in 21 minutes. He was plus 24 that game in 21 minutes against a good team, and he was 1 for 2 from 3. 30 minutes against Texas Tech, a well-rounded game here, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 for 3 from 3. So in the 5 games I noted here, he hit at least 1 3 in them. And his point totals were 23, 19, 19, 17, and 15. And that was against a Texas Tech team that didn't always play super, super high fast pace. So I like these numbers. These numbers mean something. When I pull out 6, I'm not just saying, hey, here's 6 good games. What do they mean? And what this means is that he could be a volume scorer. It means that he can recognize situations that he can take advantage of. And it also shows you that he hit a 3 in each of these games, Jacob. Mm-hmm. I haven't gone back and watched every film of every one of them, but I bet you some came after ball screens, either right there at the pick and pop, or he can roll back. He can kind of slide back a little bit and lanes open, which I think guys like Seth Trimble are going to love. It also tells me that he can play off another big, because you don't camp him down there and that's all where he stays. Armando, for example, with Pete Nance. Pete Nance had some of his best games when Armando either didn't play a lot or Armando was out. And Nance was pretty good. If he was just the only big down there, they never meshed well together because they needed to use too much of the same space. When you look at Veesaar, and then you look at a Caleb Wilson as an example, or even a Jaren Stevenson, yeah, he could play on the perimeter. Stevenson's going to be in the perimeter a lot, but I think he and Wilson could be a phenomenal tandem up front because how they can play off of each other. I love the idea of Veesaar up top and Wilson sliding the baseline or posting, and they could reverse. Wilson's a very willing passer. One of the things Carolina fans are going to like about Caleb Wilson, there's a lot of maturity in his game. Veesaar is willing to pass, but he's also really good at cutting, receiving the pass, and going up. So I can see a lot of good stuff with them playing off of each other. And he also can play off of the guards because he's comfortable facing the basket beyond the three-point lane. So there are a lot of things I think that Carolina fans are going to see from him. Hubert Davis and the staff will already know they can run any kind of set, whether it's an inbound with 8 seconds left on the clock, or if a team's trying to take something away, they can move Veesaar in places that can offset that, and they can utilize him. He's not a one-trick pony where if they're going to run some kind of box on him, well, you got to take him out now so we can open things up. No, you can still play him. Mm-hmm. So how good is he? Are those numbers that I noted, is that the direction his game is headed? Or were those just kind of occasional performances? We don't know. We'll find out this year. But a guy that his game has definitely gone like this at Arizona, you bump your head on the ceiling enough one year, you should do it more the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So if he does that on a fairly regular basis, maybe 60% of the time, I think that's really good, because if his low end is in that 10 or 12 point range and he hits a three and he can give them a lot of other stuff, I think they would be pretty happy with that, especially if this is a good perimeter shooting team. I think a lot of people kind of quietly are starting to say, yeah, this might be a really good perimeter shooting team. It's got the potential to be that. If they are that, they mesh perfectly with what Henri Veesaar could do. That's what I like about what he can bring to this team and how I can sort of envision him blending in.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, as you alluded to, essentially looking at his 2 seasons at Arizona, tripled his minutes essentially between his freshman and sophomore year, from 7 minutes a game to 20.8, and on the point side too, over pretty much quadrupled his points production, 2.4 his freshman year to 9.4 points his sophomore year. Same with rebounds, is almost 5 times as many rebounds as he had his freshman, going from 1.5 to 5 rebounds a game, and that's the trajectory you want to see. You want to see guys continuing to develop. And again, I think those numbers should go up here at North Carolina, especially with him having that much more experience, 2 years of college experience behind him. We've kind of transitioned now into what he can do at Carolina, so I want to stay on that, because one of the big things that when you go watch his highlights at Arizona, pick and roll kind of guy, the amount of times he's setting screens up top and rolling to the basket, and a lot of times getting the ball, sometimes stepping out, like you said, maybe he'd set a screen and kind of step out and take a three. But a lot of times what you see from him, he sets the screen for the guard at the top of the key, and he kind of rolls to the basket, either gets the ball and kind of creates his own shot, dunks over somebody, or there's a lot of times, there's highlights of him throwing alley-oops to guys. There's times where he's getting the ball and dishing it out to somebody to shoot a three. And we've talked a lot about expecting Carolina to be a better 3-point shooting team. And I think that's something that could fit well here. But AJ, I bring that up because how many times last year did we talk about Carolina just being a horrible screening team? Jalen Washington, a lot of times. How many times we talk about Jalen Washington set a screen at the top of the key that was not a good screen, and Carolina getting absolutely nothing off of it? I think Veesaar, you're automatically getting an upgrade with that, with him coming in. He is a good screener. He's a guy that can create when he gets the ball off the screen. And not only that, is he keeps defenses honest too, because if he can shoot that 3-point, like you said, he doesn't have to shoot at an incredibly high percentage. But if that's a part of his game, again, attempting 49 3-point shots last year for Arizona and hitting 32% of them, that number can go up a little bit in terms of percentage of those he's hitting. That completely changes the game, because what it allows you to do, or what it forces defenses to do based on what we think in terms of Carolina being a better outside shooting team, is you've got to guard Carolina, all over the court at 5 positions now. And that is just, it's going to open the court up so much more, create scoring opportunities for other guys that can take you off the dribble, like a Seth Trimble, like a Kion Evans. And I think it's just it fits more of what we have seen Hubert Davis kind of trying to do, but just maybe hasn't had the personnel to do in the past, in particular last year with a extremely short team that wasn't a great 3-point shooting team by any means. So I just really, when you watch his highlights, the amount of screens that he sets, it's just, I think you're just getting so much of an upgrade with that. And I'm very intrigued to see how much other guys around the court benefit from having a really, really good screener that can also do things when he gets the ball off that screen. Yeah,
I chronicled it constantly last season in basketball with the basketball team, that aside from the injured finger, the biggest difference between RJ Davis 2 years ago and this past season were the ball screens.
100%.
Armando is one of the best screeners the program's ever had. They didn't have any screeners last year. I mean, Jalen Washington did not like the contact. Mm-hmm. The screen was about to happen. I'm surprised he didn't get 50 screening fouls, because he was moving all the time.
It was just a weak screen.
It was a weak screen. It was not even a flash screen, because a flash or ghost screen, those kind of things are intended. His was, you're supposed to get up there and lay a good screen, allow the guard to have the options that RJ always had when Armando was setting screens, but it was never really there. Mm-hmm. Lubin was a little bit better at setting screens, but it was a major problem with last year's team and never really got rectified. Veesaar can set screens. He's a big, strong guy, and then he could do something afterward. Jay Wash wanted to be that pick-and-pop guy, and at times he was as they got into the season. But for the most part, it wasn't really there. He wasn't enough confidence to be that guy. He wasn't confident with the screen. He didn't even approach the screen with confidence. You go back and look at highlights, it's like, oh, God, I got to set a screen.
Yeah, it was like he was like going through. Yeah, there was no confidence.
You gotta love what you're doing. You gotta love the dirty work. If you don't love the dirty work, you're not going to be good at the dirty work. Mm-hmm. And Veesaar is going to set the screen. Oh, he's going to set the screen. And there's going to, and Kyan Evans, when you look at his film, I don't know how many really good high ball screens he had at Colorado State, but he's sort of a face-up guy. I could see him taking advantage of screens and be able to get some stuff from them, including his own shot. He's a pretty good shooter. So I like it. I like what Veesaar can do. He can give you a little bit of a lot of what you need. The question is, can he give you a lot of something on a fairly regular basis? I think he's as important as anybody on the team. Because last year you saw what happened with Carolina when they missed Armando. A lot of people complained the year before. Then they missed him. You've got to have something consistent down there on the post. It's got to be there. Otherwise, everything else is going to struggle. When we saw that horrible four-guard offense for a while where it looked like the team was unraveling. They simply couldn't function that way. It was not a long-term thing. They saw that quickly, probably stayed in a little bit too long, but eventually learned and went as big as they could possibly go, I guess. So you've got to have Veesaar be that guy. I mean, if he's a first-team All-ACC guy or second-team All-ACC guy, I think Carolina's in really good shape.
Yeah.
Because as much as people, man, Luke is that final piece. Or Caleb Wilson, he could be a lottery pick. Kyan Evans needs to be able to have a higher assist ratio here than he did at Colorado State. All those things are true. Seth Trimble has to be a nice piece offensively and be an absolute stud defensively and as a leader. All those things are true. But if Henri Veesaar is okay and only occasionally bumps his head on the ceiling, this team's going to struggle.
Yeah.
Unless Caleb Wilson is just, the second coming of a top 5 freshman who could challenge for ACC Player of the Year. And I already spoke to some people in the media who saw Duke's practice the other day and said, well, we already know who we're voting for ACC Player of the Year. And you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, if Caleb Wilson could be somewhat that guy, that would offset it some.
Yeah.
But you want Caleb being that guy as the 4 and not playing a whole lot as the 5. Veesaar needs to stay out of foul trouble and he needs to produce.
100%.
He needs to set good screens and not get fouls on screens. Those stupid screen fouls, you can't have those. Got to keep him in the game because there's a drop-off after him. It's pretty significant, and you don't want to roll Caleb over to the 5 at all, but certainly you want to limit how often you have to do that. So Veesaar also, maybe the most important stat for him, minutes played. He needs to be, in ACC play, he needs to be in that 33-minute range in ACC play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think for him, it's just continuing to take that development like we've talked about. He developed at Arizona, come to Carolina, continue that development, continue that jump from your sophomore to junior year. And the last thing that I want to talk about before we head on out of here is defense, because we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up his defensive ability too, because I think he's a good defender. And I think what he is also, he's a rim protector. And I think that is something, again, looking back at last year, I think Jalen Washington had spurts at times in the season where he was a decent rim protector. Everybody remembers the block against State late in the game in Raleigh to help him win it. There was some other opportunities or other examples where you're like, okay, you're like Washington. Yeah, he's doing some nice things. He's blocking some shots. He's protecting the rim well. And again, consistency with him. And it just kind of faded as the season went on. I think Veesaar again upgrades them in that area. You're upgrading on the screen. I think you're upgrading in terms of, no doubt about it, in terms of talent and production from your 5 compared to last year. Yeah. But I think on the defensive side, you're getting an upgrade as well. And I think Carolina needs that. It was not a great defensive team last year, AJ. What Carolina has done now is, again, they've gotten a lot taller, which I think is going to help them a lot on both sides of the ball. They should be a better 3-point shooting team, but we've talked about it. I expect this team to be a lot better of a defensive team as well. And I think Veesaar is going to be a major reason for that. So when you look at his defensive game and you watch some of his tape, I love the motor he plays with, I love the energy he plays with, and I love some of the block shots and things that he can do in that area. But I mean, I think there's no doubt that he is an upgrade defensively compared to last season. Now, how much of a upgrade he is, I think remains to be seen. But again, I think going into the season, that is a positive, and I'm very intrigued to see what kind of level he can reach on the defensive side of the ball, in particular with this team in particular, and the guys he'll be playing with.
As well as I think that he and Caleb Wilson can gel offensively, I think they can be even more so defensively, because Caleb Wilson is going to be an atypical true freshman big guy who knows how to defend, who knows how to defend in all. He checks all the defensive boxes and he loves it. That's another thing. Why was Ricky Black a really good defensive player? Because he loved it. And he told me, I love playing defense. I love it.
That's half of being a good defender is
it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And the thing about Veesaar, when people talk about rim protectors, they think, well, somebody's just tall and can jump and swat the ball away. So much of it is about anticipation. Yeah. So much of it is about reading. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, when you've got two guys that can protect the rim, and you got two guys that can play help side defense, which was non-existent last year. There was no such thing as help side defense with the Tar Heels, especially in the form of any kind of rim protection last year. If you suddenly have two guys down there that can rotate and help out defensively and protect the rim at the same time. And the thing I like about Veesaar that they haven't had in a while, and I thought Armando was really good defensively, but Veesaar has good recovery feet. So if he leaves his man to help out and suddenly there's a dump down to his man, he's pretty good at recovering. And he's got that 7 feet length, which is pretty good. Like, you can't coach height, right? Height doesn't slow. So I really like how the two of them can play off each other defensively. I agree with you that this should be a much better defensive team for Carolina. I think there's going to be more want on the defensive side of the ball. There's going to be more guys that are on the floor that recognize, a great defensive segment might get me an easy bucket on the other end. They weren't great defensively. They weren't great at the point defensively. When Ian was out there, only occasionally was Ian really good defensively. Drake was pretty good, but he was still inconsistent. I think Veesaar should be at the minimum a B defender, at the minimum a B, and then Wilson a minimum of a B defender, but also someone with all this room to grow. And if they end up being pretty good outside, they're going to help the interior guys. So I'm glad you brought up defense. David loves Caleb Wilson defensively, just loves him defensively. And if David loves him defensively, I'm not going to argue. So I love him defensively too, right?
Yeah, I like him too.
And I like Veesaar. Can we love Veesaar as a defensive player? I can love that game. I think it's there. I don't know if I love it yet because I got to see it.
Yeah.
But I think the trimmings are there for them to be really good defensively down low, not just on the block, but their ability to guard the way they defend the way the game's played now. So yeah, I'm an enormous the Henri Veesaar upside guy, Jacob. I don't think he's not there right now in my eyes because I haven't seen him. Yeah, in that sense,
100%.
But if we're at Christmas time and you and I are doing a podcast after I get back, a couple days after I get back from Atlanta for the Ohio State game, and Henri Veesaar is what we think he can be, this team's going to win some of those games that everybody knows it needs to win. So we're not talking net ranking crap and quad one crap at Christmas.
Got PTSD from that.
If he's that guy, they're going to notch some of those wins early. And they're going to position themselves to be very different when going into the tournament than they were last year. They're going to a very high seed, ACC contender, that kind of thing. They need him to be that guy. If he's not, I think there's going to be a lot of struggles with this team.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree, man. I'm really intrigued to see what the comments are like here because I want to hear from fans on what they think about Henri Veesaar. Do you agree with a lot of what we're saying? What kind of player, what kind of impact do you think he can have on this year's roster? Because again, I've said it since really the class was fulfilled, and even when he committed, I said it. I think Carolina, for me, he is the most impressive and the guy I'm most intrigued about from portal additions this year. And I also think he's the guy that can have the biggest impact. There's some other guys that are close, and I think we'll have to have good seasons for Carolina to have a good year. Yeah, but I think Veesaar in particular, just he has a lot of intangibles, and again has some proof in the pudding with what he did at Arizona. Where I'm like, yeah, I like the development he saw at Arizona. He continued to get better every year, and if he keeps that same trajectory coming into North Carolina with an increased role, I think he's going to be relied upon a lot more at Carolina than he was ever at Arizona. I think he can just be a big time player for the Tar Heels. I really do. So
it sets it up. If he's really good, then it sets it up for everybody else.
No doubt. There's absolutely no doubt about it. All right. That wraps up Henri Veesaar week here at Tar Heel 24/7. Finished wrapping it up with this podcast. Make sure you go check out the article we put out on Monday, the feature story AJ wrote on, and then again his 6 best games at Arizona, which came out on Wednesday. Links in the description to head on over to our website. And get involved. Come over and sign up too, AJ. I mean, we've had such great support. We have such a great community over there ever since we switched over on August 1st. And just come on over and sign up, man. It's a great time to do so before the season. I know, man. It's still 75%.
I forgot. Shame on me. I forgot to tell you, it's still 75% off. We're running this weekend. It's only going to last another day or two. Mm-hmm. I think I have 2 more solo daily drops coming out. And at the end of that last one is when it ends. So might extend to Monday or Tuesday at the latest, and then no longer 75% off. So come on, join. If you're a THI guy and you signed up and you were on our site over there, you're going to love what we're doing now, because it's that times 1,000. So 75% off, man. It's no brainer.
Yeah, sign up, man. Links in the description. It'll take you right to the sign up page. And again, you get 75% off a 1-year subscription here at Tar Heel 24/7. We'd love to have you. And again, we've got an awesome community already, and we're just looking forward to continuing to grow this thing, man. And I think we'll continue to grow this thing even faster once we really dive into football season and basketball season. So yeah, stick with us. Come on and join if you haven't already. And yeah, super excited and intrigued to see where we're going to take this thing, because it's only up from here. We're going to continue to get bigger and better. And yeah, man, I'm just super excited about it. I think I say excited every podcast now. So someone started an excited ticker. I want somebody to go back starting now. Every time I say excited, just put it in the comments and just see how many times I say excited in a podcast. I've already said about 17 in this one. So
sometimes you say super excited. I thought you got that from Sam Howell. Because Sam Howell, you said, super excited about the Army Brown.
Yeah, man.
Super excited about Javonte Williams. Always said super excited.
He might have rubbed off on me and I didn't even realize it. He very well might have, that's a great point. I forgot he said that. Yeah. It might've like subconsciously rubbed off on me years ago when he was here. And now that's my favorite term in the world to say. So I'm not going to say it anymore in this podcast. I'm going to go ahead and end this thing. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Appreciate you guys watching as always. Again, get involved in the comments. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and please hit that notification bell too, because we're putting out a ton of podcasts, ton of press conferences as football season starts. Or I got a bunch that have popped up from fall camp. If you want to get notified every time those are there, you have the notification bell on. So make sure you hit that, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks.